Hey guys, welcome back to Better with Biscuits, where today we're going to be cooking yet another classic Southern side. And it's one that is perfect for any Thanksgiving gathering. In fact, most Thanksgiving gatherings that I've ever been to, and I've been to a bunch, have a version of greens somewhere. And when I say greens, I mean like mustards, turnips, or collards. I don't know why I said collards last because it's my favorite one, and that's what we're going to be doing today. Collard greens. Um, for my family, we like collard greens. Used to we cook mustard greens, but mustard greens will cook down to be very tender, almost to the point where it's mushy, and I don't like that texture. Collards, even if you cook them a while, they'll hold their bite, and I like that a little better. The only thing about collards is they have a very thick stem, and so you have to be careful when you're preparing your greens to cook that you get enough of the stem that runs up into the leaf out, so you don't have a bunch of big old thick stems in your collard greens, because you don't want to have to be chewing real hard on some stems. Um, Now, I am going to be preparing these from a fresh bunch of collards from the grocery store. Can you get the bagged collard greens and season them up like I'm going to? Sure, you can. The reason I don't prefer bagged greens is because they don't take the time to make sure the big stems are taken out. So it's a lot of big, thick stems that I don't really care to be eating. So today we're going to just take a bunch of fresh collards, wash them, clean them up really good, and then break them down to where it's just the leaves left, and we'll cut them up and put them in the pot and cook them up, and it's going to be good. Also, I'm not eating these collard greens because I'm just using tonight to film because I have the time. So it's a really good make ahead side for Thanksgiving, especially if you're in charge of a lot of the food and you don't want to be rushed or crunched for time the day of, and you want to actually have a little bit of time to breathe and enjoy your family. Make them ahead of time. So, like I'm doing right now, I'm cooking them down tonight, but I'm going to let them cool, and then I'll put them in freezer bags and we'll freeze them. And so, anytime I get in a hankering for or get a hankering for collard greens, I'm gonna head out to the freezer, get them out, put them on medium low on the stove, and let them warm through. And you're not gonna be able to tell a difference in the ones that are warmed over versus ones that have been cooking fresh day of. I guarantee you. So, if you need a way to save time and you're in charge of collard greens, make them ahead of time, let them cool before put them in the freezer. Put them in the freezer, let them freeze, and then just take them out and warm them up. Save you some time. So, let's get to it. Collard greens, can't beat them. This looks like a lot, but it's gonna cook down to nothing. So, 2 bunches of greens. All right, now the thing about collards is they have this thick vein or stem that goes up the leaf. I personally like to cut it out so that all you get is the tender leaf. Now, luckily for me, this bunch of collards seems to be a young plant, so even the stalks are very tender on them. So I go and I cut out the stalk, pull it out, and all I have is the leaf. This is the only part I'm cooking. Like these little leaves like this, I'm just going to break them like that for just a second. So what I would do is I take a stack of leaves that are spread out flat, and I roll them up You do not have to be fancy with doing this. You don't have to do this at all. Just give them a chop. Almost like we're cutting a roll of sushi, but it's a roll of greens. And you don't even have to spread them out really before you chop them up. That was one big old group. I missed that stalk. That was a thick one. Greens don't come from a can either. And don't get me wrong, I've eaten good canned greens before. But there's just nothing like the smell of greens cooking on the stove, in my opinion. That's not stock. Can you put that back in there or just cut it out? Alright. So, to be honest, this is probably... Let's get over to the pot and I'll show you kind of how I like to start my greens cooking. It's all about the seasoning. So, be right back. Alright, I've got my pot here heating up on medium heat. And to that, I'm going to add country ham pieces for seasoning. I'll probably put all of this. It's probably 2/3 of a pack. I like a lot of meat in my greens. That's where the flavor comes from. So the more the merrier, in my opinion. But everybody cooks to their own taste, right? Alright, we're going to let that render out. Get the goodie out of it. You know, if you like salt pork, use salt pork. If you like bacon, use bacon. If you like ham hock, put ham hock in there. I'm kind of picky about what seasoning meat I use, because some of it don't taste as good as others. But this Cliffy Farm country ham pieces for seasoning, this is what I find to taste the best. So I'm going to let this cook for a little bit and we'll be right back when it gets rendered out. Along because it's not quite enough. I'm going in with some bacon grease. Sorry, bacon drippings. It's grease. Let's not even try to act like it's not. Ooh, that smells good already. And with what is the equivalent of 1 medium onion, rough chopped. No point in getting real fine with the onions. It's going to cook a long time. Those onions will get good and tender by the time the greens are done. So I don't dice them up real fine. They're going to be good and tender, trust me. I'm going to turn the heat up just a little bit, get these onions caramelized before I add my greens. Alright, the onions are starting to become more translucent. So I'm going to turn the heat down just a little bit. Good tablespoon of garlic in the pot and some on the stove. And that got cooked on. Okay. Now, this garlic, you don't want to let it get too hot too quick. You just want to stir it around until it becomes fragrant. Alright, so what I have here is about 4 cups of chicken stock made with, yes, better than bouillon. I'm just going to put it a little in there to cool off that garlic. Okay, you don't want it, like I said, you don't want it to get too cooked. Pot full. But trust me, they're going to cook down. Alright, now that looks like a pot full of greens. And right now it is, but I promise you it's about to cook down because I'm going to put the rest of this 4 cups of chicken broth on. And I'm going to put a lid on it, and it's going to steam, and they're going to wilt down. And I'll bring you back when they've wilted down, and I'll show you what it looks like. Ooh, chicken stock. Okay. So in this pot, we've got our ham pieces, our bacon drippings, our onion, our chopped onion, our minced garlic, our greens, and our chicken stock. And you know, so far, you can't go wrong with any of that. So I'm gonna let this cook down for a little bit. I'm gonna put a lid on it, and I'll bring you back when it's wilted down, and we can start with the seasonings. All right, so our pot of greens was boiling pretty good, but I've turned it down, and I've added 3 cups of water to the liquid in the pot. And I'm just now going to turn it down to a medium low, and I'm going to let it go. Medium low, and let it go for a while. I will go ahead and start adding my seasonings at this point. Greens are kind of taste and see. Okay, so you kind of got to put a little bit and then let it cook a while and then taste it to see if it's to your liking. I'm going to start with a ½ teaspoon of salt. I'm going to we've already put garlic and onion in the pot, but I'm going to bump it up a little bit with some onion powder, ½ teaspoon. A ½ teaspoon of garlic powder. And then a ¼ teaspoon of black pepper. Give that a stir. See our seasoning meat, our ham pieces, our garlic and onions in there. Okay. So we're going to put a lid on this and let it go. Alright guys, now that they've cooked down, we're just waiting on them to get really good and tender. We're going to put a ¼ cup of apple cider vinegar. Alright, we've put our apple cider vinegar, and we're going to put a ¼ cup of dark brown sugar. And then the only other thing that I'm going to put in here, and I hope this is going to be enough, it's probably 3/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika. I love a good smoky flavor in the greens. I think we need to taste the pot liquor, which for greens is just the juice. We'll go in and taste the pot liquor. Oh yeah. Yep. She's done. It's the perfect amount of seasoning and acidity from the vinegar and sweetness from the sugar. It is the perfect pot of greens. And the only thing that'll make it even better would be, usually I'd say biscuits, because the channel's better with biscuits. But cornbread also goes really well with greens. So they're good in their own right, but they'd be even better with biscuits or cornbread. So y'all make you some. The recipe will be down below in the description box. And thanks for hanging out with me.